Hey Linux enthusiasts, welcome back to another episode of Linux Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, and if you're passionate about open source, you're in the right place. This week has been absolutely insane in the Linux world. We've got major kernel drama, exciting new releases, and some game-changing updates that you definitely don't want to miss. We're covering June 23rd through 30th, 2025, and trust me, this week had everything, from Linus Torvalds making some controversial decisions to brand new distributions launching with cutting-edge features. So grab your favorite beverage, hit that like button if you're excited about Linux news, and let's dive into what's been happening in our beloved open source ecosystem. Before we jump in, make sure you're subscribed and ring that notification bell because Linux moves fast, and you don't want to miss any of these crucial updates that could affect your daily computing experience. Let's start with the biggest story of the week, and honestly, it's been causing quite a stir in the Linux community. Linus Torvalds has made the decision to drop Bcachefs support from the upcoming Linux 6.17 kernel release, and the drama behind this decision is absolutely fascinating. For those who might not be familiar, Bcachefs is a relatively new file system that's been in development for years, promising advanced features like built-in compression, encryption, and copy-on-write functionality. It was finally merged into the Linux kernel not too long ago, but apparently things haven't been going smoothly behind the scenes. The conflict centers around Kent Overstreet, the main developer of Bcachefs, and his approach to kernel development. According to multiple sources, Torvalds became frustrated with Overstreet's tendency to submit new features and significant changes during what should be bug fix-only periods in the kernel development cycle. This is a fundamental violation of how Linux kernel development works. Once you're in the release candidate phase, you're supposed to focus exclusively on fixing bugs, not adding new functionality. What makes this particularly dramatic is that Torvalds didn't just quietly remove the file system. He made it very clear in his communications that this was about maintainer conduct and adherence to established development practices. The Linux kernel has very strict rules about when and how changes can be submitted, and these rules exist for good reason. They ensure stability and reliability in what is arguably the most important piece of software running on millions of servers and devices worldwide. This situation highlights something crucial about open source development that many people don't fully appreciate. It's not just about writing good code. It's about being able to work within established processes and collaborate effectively with other developers. The Linux kernel is maintained by thousands of contributors, and if everyone started ignoring the established workflows, the whole system would collapse. But let's talk about the technical implications. Bcachefs users who are currently running it on Linux 6.16 and earlier versions won't immediately lose functionality, but they'll need to be very careful about kernel upgrades going forward. This also means that any distributions that were planning to include Bcachefs as a supported file system option will need to reconsider their plans. On a more positive note, we did get Linux 6.16 RC4 this week, and it comes with some excellent improvements, particularly for AMD GPU users. The release includes enhanced cleaner shader support for more AMD GFX9 and CDNA Instinct accelerator GPUs. This is significant because it improves security across different users and applications by providing better isolation and resource management. The AMD improvements are part of a broader trend we're seeing where GPU computing is becoming increasingly important, not just for gaming, but for AI workloads, cryptocurrency mining, and scientific computing. Having better support for these advanced AMD accelerators means Linux users will have access to more powerful computing capabilities, especially in data center and high-performance computing environments. We also saw the release of multiple stable kernel updates this week, including versions 6.15.4, 6.12.35, 6.6.95, 6.1.142, 5.15.186, 5.10.239, and 5.4.295. These updates primarily focus on security fixes and bug corrections, which might not sound exciting, but they're absolutely crucial for maintaining system stability and security across the massive installed base of Linux systems worldwide. One particularly interesting development is the announcement of Tyre, a new graphics driver written entirely in Rust. This represents a significant shift in how we think about kernel development, as Rust offers memory safety guarantees that traditional C code cannot provide. While it's still early days for this project, it could represent the future of graphics driver development in Linux, potentially leading to more stable and secure graphics support across the board. Moving on to distribution news, we've had some major releases this week that are definitely worth your attention. The biggest announcement has to be Oracle Linux 10, which is now generally available for both x86-64 and ARH64 platforms. Oracle Linux 10 represents a significant milestone because it's built on the latest upstream technologies while maintaining enterprise-grade stability and support. What makes this particularly interesting is Oracle's approach to providing a RHEL-compatible distribution that's completely free to use, even in production environments. This is becoming increasingly important as organizations look for alternatives to traditional enterprise Linux offerings that might have licensing restrictions or costs. The timing of Oracle Linux 10's release is also significant because it comes at a time when the enterprise Linux landscape is rapidly evolving. With all the changes happening around RHEL and its downstream distributions, having a solid, well-supported alternative that maintains compatibility is crucial for enterprise users who need stability and predictability in their infrastructure. But perhaps the most visually striking release this week is Deepin 25, which launches as an immutable Linux distribution. This is a fascinating development because Deepin has always been known for its beautiful, polished desktop environment. And now, they're embracing the immutable OS trend that we've been seeing with distributions like Fedora Silverblue and OpenSUSE MicroOS. The immutable approach means that the core system files are read-only and updates are applied atomically. Either they succeed completely or they fail completely, with no possibility of leaving your system in a broken state. This is particularly appealing for desktop users who want the stability and reliability of an enterprise system, but with the polish and user-friendliness that Deepin is known for. Deepin 25 also introduces an AI assistant, which is becoming increasingly common in modern operating systems. While we don't have all the details about how this AI integration works, it represents the broader trend of AI becoming a standard feature in desktop computing environments. This could potentially help users with system configuration, troubleshooting, and even learning how to use Linux more effectively. The distribution also features a revamped desktop environment and universal app packaging with cross-distribution compatibility. This last point is particularly important because one of the ongoing challenges in the Linux desktop space is application distribution and compatibility across different distributions. If Deepin has found a way to make applications more universally compatible, this could be a significant step forward for Linux desktop adoption. For privacy-conscious users, Tails 6.17 was released with improved password management capabilities. Tails, which stands for the Amnesic Incognito Live System, is specifically designed for users who need maximum privacy and anonymity. The improved password management is crucial because password security is often the weakest link in maintaining privacy and security online. The Tails project continues to be one of the most important distributions for journalists, activists, and anyone who needs to maintain anonymity online. The fact that they're continuously improving the user experience while maintaining their security focus shows the maturity of the project and its commitment to serving users who have very specific and critical privacy needs. On the lighter side, Diet Pi 9.14 was released with some interesting additions, including GZ Doom support and expanded hardware support for the Orange Pi 5 Ultra. Diet Pi is designed for single-board computers and minimal installations, making it perfect for IoT projects, home servers, and embedded applications. The addition of GZ Doom is particularly fun because it shows how even minimal distributions can support gaming and entertainment applications. GZ Doom is a modern port of the classic Doom game engine that supports advanced graphics features and modding capabilities. Having this available on lightweight hardware like the Orange Pi opens up interesting possibilities for retro gaming projects and educational demonstrations. The Orange Pi 5 Ultra support is also significant because these single-board computers are becoming increasingly powerful and capable. The Orange Pi 5 Ultra features a powerful ARM processor that can handle serious computing tasks, making it suitable for everything from home automation hubs to development workstations for ARM-based software development. The desktop environment and application space has been particularly active this week, with several major updates that will directly impact how users interact with their Linux systems on a daily basis. KDE Plasma 6.4.1 was released as the first maintenance update to the Plasma 6.4 series, and while maintenance updates might not sound exciting, they're absolutely crucial for the stability and usability of what is arguably one of the most popular Linux desktop environments. Plasma 6.4.1 includes various improvements and bug fixes that address issues users have been experiencing since the 6.4.0 release. The KDE project has been doing an excellent job of maintaining a regular release schedule while continuously improving the user experience. Plasma 6.4 introduced several new features and improvements, and having a stable maintenance release so quickly shows the project's commitment to quality and user satisfaction. These updates typically include fixes for crashes, memory leaks, visual glitches, and compatibility issues with various hardware configurations. What's particularly impressive about the current state of KDE Plasma is how it manages to be both feature-rich and stable. The desktop environment offers an incredible amount of customization options while maintaining good performance across a wide range of hardware configurations. The regular maintenance updates ensure that users can rely on Plasma for daily productivity work without worrying about stability issues. Firefox 140 ESR was released this week, and this is a major update that deserves significant attention. The extended support release channel is particularly important for enterprise users and organizations that need long-term stability and support. Firefox 140 ESR will be supported for an extended period, making it suitable for deployment in corporate environments where frequent updates might not be practical or desirable. The ESR releases typically include all the security updates and critical bug fixes from the regular Firefox releases, but they avoid the more experimental features that might cause compatibility issues in enterprise environments. This makes Firefox 140 ESR an excellent choice for organizations that want to provide their users with a modern, secure web browser while maintaining predictable behavior and compatibility with internal web applications. What's particularly exciting about Firefox 140 is that it includes numerous performance improvements and security enhancements that have been developed over the past several months. Mozilla has been working hard to improve Firefox's performance, particularly in areas like memory usage, startup time, and page loading speed. These improvements are especially noticeable on Linux systems, where Firefox often performs better than on other operating systems due to better integration with system libraries and services. Looking ahead, Firefox 141 is already in development and promises to use less memory on Linux systems. This is significant because memory usage has been one of the ongoing concerns with modern web browsers. As web applications become more complex and feature-rich, they tend to consume more system resources. Having a browser that's optimized for memory efficiency means users can run more applications simultaneously without experiencing performance degradation. GIMP 3.2 development is progressing nicely, and we got an early peek at some of the new features coming in this release. The most exciting addition is a new paint mode that promises to provide more natural and intuitive painting experiences for digital artists. GIMP has always been a powerful image editing application, but it has sometimes lagged behind commercial alternatives in terms of user experience and modern features. The new paint mode represents a significant step forward in making GIMP more competitive with commercial image editing software. Digital artists and designers who prefer open source tools will particularly appreciate these improvements, as they make GIMP a more viable alternative to expensive proprietary software. Another major addition in GIMP 3.2 is support for importing Photoshop patterns. This might seem like a small feature, but it's actually quite significant for users who are transitioning from Photoshop to GIMP, or who need to work with files created in Photoshop. Pattern compatibility is one of those details that can make or break a user's workflow, and having better Photoshop compatibility removes one more barrier to GIMP adoption. The GIMP development team has been working hard to modernize the application while maintaining its powerful feature set. These improvements in version 3.2 show that the project is listening to user feedback and addressing real-world workflow needs. For many users, these enhancements could be the tipping point that makes GIMP their primary image editing application. OBS Studio 31.0.4 was released as a hotfix to address cross-platform crashes and freezes that were affecting users across different operating systems. OBS Studio is absolutely crucial for content creators, streamers, and anyone who needs to record or broadcast video content. Having a stable, reliable version is essential for users who depend on OBS for their livelihood or important presentations. The fact that this was released as a hotfix shows how seriously the OBS development team takes stability and user experience. When you're doing live streaming or recording important content, crashes and freezes are not just inconvenient, they can be catastrophic. The quick response to these issues demonstrates the project's commitment to providing professional quality software that users can rely on. OBS Studio continues to be one of the best examples of open source software that competes directly with commercial alternatives and often exceeds them in terms of features and flexibility. The active development and responsive maintenance make it an excellent choice for anyone involved in video content creation. Hardware support is always a critical area for Linux users, and this week brought several important developments that will improve the Linux experience across a wide range of devices and use cases. The Linux 6.16 RC4 release includes significant improvements for AMD GPU users, particularly those using GFX9 and CDNA Instinct Accelerator GPUs. The enhanced cleaner shader support provides better security isolation between different users and applications, which is crucial in multi-user environments and cloud computing scenarios. These AMD improvements are part of a broader trend where GPU computing is becoming increasingly important for workloads beyond traditional graphics rendering. Machine learning, scientific computing, cryptocurrency mining, and video processing all benefit from GPU acceleration. And having better support for AMD's professional-grade accelerators means Linux users have access to more powerful computing capabilities. The security improvements are particularly noteworthy because GPU computing often involves processing sensitive data or running code from multiple users simultaneously. Better isolation between different processes and users helps prevent data leaks and ensures that one user's computations can't interfere with another's. This is especially important in cloud computing environments, where multiple customers might be sharing the same physical hardware. AMD also announced preparations for Linux driver support for new APUs that still rely on RDNA1 graphics architecture. This might seem like a step backward since RDNA2 and RDNA3 are newer architectures, but it actually makes sense from a market perspective. RDNA1-based APUs can be manufactured more cost-effectively while still providing good performance for mainstream computing tasks. The continued support for RDNA1 graphics means that users will have access to affordable hardware options that still provide good Linux compatibility and performance. This is particularly important for budget-conscious users and for applications where cutting-edge graphics performance isn't necessary, but good Linux support is essential. The Tire graphics driver project represents a fascinating development in Linux graphics support. This new driver is being written entirely in Rust, which offers memory safety guarantees that traditional C code cannot provide. Memory safety is a critical concern in kernel-level code because bugs in drivers can cause system crashes, security vulnerabilities, and data corruption. Rust's ownership system and compile time checks help prevent many of the memory-related bugs that have historically plagued kernel code. While it's still early days for Rust in kernel development, projects like Tire could pave the way for more secure and reliable graphics drivers across the entire Linux ecosystem. The implications of successful Rust-based driver development extend far beyond just graphics. If Tire proves that Rust can be used effectively for complex kernel drivers, it could encourage the development of other critical system components in Rust, potentially leading to a more secure and reliable Linux kernel overall. Wine 10.11 was released with NT-sync preparation and fixes for over 25 bugs. While Wine isn't technically a hardware driver, it's crucial for hardware compatibility because it enables Linux users to run Windows applications that might be necessary for specific hardware devices or workflows. The NT-sync preparation is particularly interesting because it relates to improving the performance and compatibility of Windows applications running under Wine. NT-sync is a kernel feature that can significantly improve the performance of Windows applications that rely heavily on synchronization primitives, like mutexes and semaphores. Having better Windows application compatibility through Wine means that Linux users have access to a broader range of software, including applications that might be necessary for specific hardware devices or professional workflows. This is particularly important for users who are transitioning from Windows to Linux, but still need access to certain Windows-only applications. The 25-plus bug fixes in Wine 10.11 address various compatibility issues with specific applications and games. While each individual fix might seem small, collectively, they represent a significant improvement in the overall Windows application compatibility that Linux users can expect. This ongoing improvement in Wine compatibility is one of the factors that makes Linux increasingly viable as a desktop operating system for users who need access to Windows software. Pipewire 1.4.6 brings improvements to latency reporting and adds a new option to disable RAOP, Remote Audio Output Protocol. Pipewire has become the standard audio system for modern Linux distributions, replacing the older Pulse audio system in many cases. The latency reporting improvements are crucial for professional audio applications, where precise timing is essential. Musicians, audio engineers, and content creators need to know exactly how much latency their audio system is introducing, so they can compensate for it in their workflows. Better latency reporting makes Linux a more viable platform for professional audio production. The RAOP disable option might seem like a minor feature, but it's actually quite important for users who don't need AirPlay compatibility but want to minimize the attack surface of their audio system. RAOP is used for streaming audio to Apple devices, but if you don't use this functionality, being able to disable it entirely improves security and can slightly reduce resource usage. GStreamer 1.26.3 was released with bug and security fixes, including patches for H.264 vulnerabilities. GStreamer is the multimedia framework that underlies most audio and video applications on Linux, so security fixes in GStreamer are particularly important because they affect a wide range of applications. The H.264 vulnerability patches are especially critical because H.264 is one of the most widely used video codecs on the internet. Vulnerabilities in video codec handling can potentially be exploited by malicious video files, so having these fixes ensures that Linux users can safely view video content from various sources without worrying about security compromises. The Linux community has been buzzing with several fascinating projects and developments that showcase the innovation and creativity that makes open source software so exciting. The XLibre X Server project has been generating significant discussion in the community. XLibre represents an attempt to create a modern, maintained fork of the X11 server that addresses some of the long-standing issues with the traditional Xorg server. What makes this particularly interesting is that Fedora is considering adopting XLibre as their new default X11 server. This development comes at a time when the Linux desktop ecosystem is in transition between X11 and Wayland. While Wayland is generally considered the future of Linux graphics, X11 is still necessary for compatibility with older applications and specific use cases. Having a well-maintained, modern X11 server implementation ensures that users who need X11 compatibility will have a reliable option going forward. The curious case of XLibre, as it's been called in the community, highlights the complex decisions that distribution maintainers face when choosing default components. Fedora's consideration of XLibre shows their commitment to providing users with the best possible experience while maintaining compatibility with existing software. Hyperland, the popular Wayland compositor, announced a subscription plan to sustain development. This is a fascinating development because it represents a new model for funding open source projects. Rather than relying solely on donations or corporate sponsorship, Hyperland is experimenting with a subscription model that provides supporters with additional benefits while keeping the core software free and open source. The subscription model could potentially provide more stable and predictable funding for open source projects, which is one of the ongoing challenges in the open source ecosystem. Many excellent projects struggle with funding, which can lead to burnout among maintainers and slower development progress. If Hyperland's subscription model proves successful, it could inspire other projects to adopt similar approaches. The Wayback project represents an interesting bridge between X11 desktop environments and Wayland. As the Linux desktop ecosystem transitions to Wayland, there's a need for compatibility solutions that allow users to continue using their favorite X11-based desktop environments while taking advantage of Wayland's benefits. Wayback could potentially solve one of the major challenges in the X11 to Wayland transition: the fact that many users are attached to specific desktop environments or window managers that haven't been ported to Wayland. By providing a bridge solution, Wayback could make the transition smoother and less disruptive for users who have customized workflows built around X11-based tools. The GNOME project's decision to end X11 session support has been generating significant discussion in the community. This represents a major milestone in the transition to Wayland, as GNOME is one of the most popular desktop environments in the Linux ecosystem. The end of X11 support in GNOME signals that the project believes Wayland is mature enough to serve as the primary graphic system for most users. This decision will likely accelerate Wayland adoption across the broader Linux ecosystem as other projects and distributions follow GNOME's lead. However, it also highlights the importance of projects like XLibre and Wayback for users who still need X11 compatibility for specific applications or workflows. Canonical, the company behind Ubuntu, reported revenue growth in 2024, reaching $292 million. This is significant because it demonstrates the commercial viability of Linux-based businesses and the growing market for open-source solutions. Canonical's success helps fund continued development of Ubuntu and related projects, which benefits the entire Linux ecosystem. A revenue growth also reflects the increasing adoption of Linux in enterprise environments, cloud computing, and edge computing scenarios. As more organizations recognize the benefits of open-source solutions, companies like Canonical that provide commercial support and services around Linux distributions are well positioned for continued growth. OpenELA, Open Enterprise Linux Association, introduced an open-source verification suite for enterprise Linux. This is important because it provides a standardized way to verify that enterprise Linux distributions are compatible with established standards and expectations. Having reliable verification tools helps ensure that different enterprise Linux distributions can serve as drop-in replacements for each other, which is crucial for enterprise users who need flexibility in their infrastructure choices. Fedora 44 is planning to drop i686 support and 32-bit multilib compatibility. While this might seem like a step backward, It actually represents a practical decision to focus development resources on the platforms that matter most to current and future users. 32-bit x86 systems are becoming increasingly rare, and maintaining compatibility with them requires significant development effort that could be better spent on other improvements. The decision to drop 32-bit support reflects the broader trend in the Linux ecosystem toward focusing on modern hardware platforms while maintaining support for the systems that users actually use in production environments. What a week it's been in the Linux world. From the dramatic Bcachefs situation to exciting new releases and innovative projects, there's never a dull moment in our open source ecosystem. The key takeaways from this week are clear. Linux continues to evolve rapidly, with improvements in hardware support, desktop environments, and core system components. The community remains vibrant and innovative, constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible with open source software. Whether you're a desktop user excited about the latest KDE Plasma updates, a developer interested in the new Rust-based graphics drivers, or an enterprise user evaluating Oracle Linux 10, there's something in this week's news that affects your Linux experience. If you found this roundup helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more Linux news and tutorials. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the exciting developments happening in the Linux world. What was your favorite story from this week? Are you excited about any of these releases or concerned about the Bcachefs situation? Let me know in the comments below. I love hearing from the community and discussing these developments with fellow Linux enthusiasts. Until next week, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep embracing the power of open source. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.